All right, for this next section of your project, the things you're gonna need are a stack of drawing paper or computer paper if you don't have drawing paper, your mask base, hopefully yours isn't as crumpled as mine, it kind of got squished a little bit, so if yours got squished you might just have to reform a little bit, but hopefully it's gonna kind of come back together as I'm working on it. You're gonna need your plan, your sketch that you came up with just for reference, a pencil, some glue, some tape, and some scissors. And basically what you're going to use, or what you're going to be doing, are using the different paper sculpture techniques taught to develop your plan. Now here's the thing, everything should be three-dimensional. For example, like this mushroom. If I were to just, and I'm going to do this just very simply, it's not going to be an amazing mushroom by any means, but if I were just to simply cut out a mushroom from paper, two-dimensional, no 3D things happening here, but just a simple mushroom out of paper, and glue this onto my project. Because we're only using white, this really doesn't show up, like there's nothing exciting or interesting here. But if I start to use some of those paper sculpture techniques, or I should say as I start to use some of those paper sculpture techniques, hopefully you will see that I'm able to come up with things that are far more interesting. For example, if I were to roll a cone here, and get that, and I'm going to redo this in a minute, but this is just quickly to kind of give you an example. But if I were to roll a cone here, get it assembled and taken care of, and this is just going to end up being my mushroom stem, and get that attached, hopefully you can see where this would be starting to head off in a much more interesting direction as I build like the cap of my mushroom than just this would be with the two-dimensional. That's why everything's really important to be three-dimensional with this particular project in order to be successful. The reason that you've got both tape and glue is because the glue just takes a minute to set. It doesn't set right away as you're working with it, at least this kind of glue doesn't. So as you are gluing things, you're probably also going to want to tape them in places where you can't see, just to really hold your work together. So like if I add a line of glue onto this to glue my cone closed to be able to add my mushroom cap, if I were just to let go of this, it's going to pop back open, it's not going to stay closed. But if I take some little pieces of tape, just some Scotch tape, I can just help secure this down so that it's not coming open on me. Okay, so I don't want to use like a ton of tape because I don't want it to be visible at all, but I used a little bit of tape just to help hold my piece. So this would be the stem to my mushroom, and then I'm going to use a different sculptural technique to build the cap of my mushroom. And then if I want to like alter the curve of the bottom of this, I can just, like if I want it to look rounded on the bottom, I can just hold it together and cut to end up with that kind of curved bottom edge of my mushroom, and then I'll build a cap as well. All right, so here we go. example, I was thinking I could kind of make like the underside of the mushroom, and it just wasn't working, and it wasn't super necessary, so I just sort of abandoned ship on that. I don't know if I'll come back and play with that a little bit more at some point. You'll also maybe notice that I actually like covered the eye with these strips that are intended to be like textured like bark. And so I just went back and trimmed them away, so that they were no longer covering that up. Over here, for these, I really found that just working with tape was helpful instead of trying to glue. This is intended to be like a vine. I think I need to add more leaves to it to make it really look like a vine. I don't think I'm finished with it, but again, it's a good start. And just by working with teeny little pieces of tape, I was able to tack it down a little bit faster and easier than trying to kind of fight through with glue. And then as I was working on my butterfly's body, I just really had to be willing to test ideas. Like I wanted it to kind of fit along the curve of this mushroom. So I ended up having to cut some extra slits in the body just to make it actually fit and work along. And then of course I've got my butterfly wings as well. Now I could have of course created all of this a lot faster and a lot easier if I had been using all two-dimensional drawings, like just cutting them out, but then you really wouldn't see them anymore. So I think it's important to note that the 3D elements are going to turn out a much more successful mask. So I'm just going to continue to add to this thing, and hopefully to develop my design of this kind of woodland theme a little bit further, and hopefully come up with a pretty cool finished product.